The difference is that one just means that you treat everybody the same. Sometimes the same is not equitable.
The school board is expected to vote on a major expansion of protections for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender students.
On March 29, 2021, the White House established the federal policy, Approaching Policy with Equity in Mind. This policy primarily focuses on implementing the comprehensive approach to advancing equity for all. However, there is one particular aspect of this policy that really sticks out. In the federal policy, it clearly states that while Black girls are suspended from school at higher rates than girls of any other race or ethnicity, students within the LGBTQ+ community, especially those who are transgender or who have disabilities, are also more likely than their non-LGBTQ+ peers to receive detention, suspensions, and expulsions from school, which is often as a result of discrimination and harassment.
Discrimination exists against LGBTQI individuals, both as students and as adults.
Knowing that, every day could be a struggle for a student, and school is your only outlet, and you're having to come to school knowing that you could be bullied or things at home aren't good for you.
Another statistic that was found was that only 1 out of 5 students reported being able to use their preferred pronouns at all times. Adding on to that, more than half of teens who identify as transgender or a gender other than their assigned one are not able to use the restroom or locker room at school that aligns with their identity.
Transgender rights basically saying that a transgender student could choose which facility to use, bathrooms, locker rooms, and the like.
This was based on the 1972 law, Title IX, stating that anyone who receives federal funding cannot discriminate on the basis of sex. This means that schools are unable to deny a student's gender or sexual orientation. 1/3, which is roughly 29% of LGBT youth, had attempted suicide at least once in the prior year compared to 6% of heterosexual youth.
Never mind that 41% of people who identify as transgender attempt suicide at some point in their lives. Never mind that people who have had transition surgery are 19 times more likely than average to die by suicide. These statistics should stop us in our tracks.
By the students feeling chronic sadness and considering suicide, it made them have poorer learning engagement and academic performances compared to straight peers.
There are great strides being made to ensure that they are being treated fairly, but we have a long road ahead of us just to make sure that we're inclusive and embracing those students.
Some would compare this to the metaphor cage bird. Many students within the LGBTQ+ community have to hide who they truly are just to receive acceptance and validation from their peers and educators. On top of that, if they do not receive adequate support at home, they may feel alone and unwelcomed in many aspects of their life. Like the caged bird metaphor, issues like these can cause them to feel as if they are trapped in a cage of confinement and oppression as they witness the freedom in which they cannot attain.
Too often, LGBTQIA youth are unable to take their issues to their parents. And so if they're struggling at school, being bullied at school, they can't take it home.
Many in the LGBTQ community face discrimination, prejudice, denial of civil and human rights, harassment, or family rejection, which can often lead to new or worsened symptoms, particularly for those with intersecting racial or social economic identities. For youth to thrive in schools and communities, they need to feel socially, emotionally, and physically safe and supported. A positive school climate has been associated with decreased depression, suicidal feelings, substance use, and unexcused school absences among LGBT students.
I think by identifying student voices from the community to tackle some of the issues that they face in schools, I would also say making sure that staff is culturally competent to the needs of LGBT students.
This federal policy will help decrease the numerous amount of harmful school discipline policies that are further enforced for LGBTQ+ students, especially those of color and with disabilities. It will also allow school boards to make policies and guidelines equitable for each and every student, regardless of gender, race, sexual orientation, and so on.
The things that a school district does to promote equity and inclusion should make everyone in that school feel safer and more comfortable.
When we promote and realize equity in education, When we expand and invest in educational opportunities, we can improve outcomes for all students.
Know that our students matter. Our students know that they're loved, but ultimately, we should always be governing ourselves with the student first mindset.
Despite the progress that has been made to promote equity for everyone, many in the LGBTQ+ community continue to face discrimination, prejudice, and denial of civil or human rights. There is still major improvements that need to be made in order to ensure that these students are not only disciplined equitably, but also feel supported and accepted within the school system and are able to embrace who they are. And in order for us to ensure that each and every student feels safe and supported, we have to open that trap that has been full of hatred, oppression, prejudice, and denial of human rights for so long and allow students to be their authentic, true self without guilt. We must free the caged birds.